Hey, what's going on, guys? Lurking here from Mobilytics, and today we're coming at you with a Meteorite build, the one that killed the dinosaurs. So right now we're going to kill Duriel because he's the closest looking to a dinosaur that we have. And wow, he got giga nuked. That's crazy. Let's take it to the training dummy and see what kind of damage numbers we can get. Seeing 3 billion. So we get, okay, we got Enlightenment stacked up, 6 billion. Hey guys, let's talk about the build for a sec, how it works, all the inner workings. So it is the Starfall Coronet helmet, turns Meteor into a cooldown skill that can get up to down to a 3-second cooldown. What's really good about Ice Blades and this helmet is that when you have 6 Ice Blades out, they'll chop and they will reduce, all 6 chopping at once will reduce your non-Ice Blade cooldowns by 0.6 seconds. And because they are 3 charges, this will ramp up to 1.8 seconds. So as you can see, I have a 1.82 second. So every time the Ice Blades chop, my Meteor comes back free. So you hit a point where you're only limited by your attack speed. Important things on here are obviously the time, ranks to Meteor, and cooldown reduction. Shroud of False Death is the only mythic in the build. Prioritize max life for all stats here. It's just really awesome for +1 to all passives, especially after the changes to Sorcerer's passives. We're going to take Seer Gar. We really need the crit chance here. You're going to aim for 48% crit chance, and then the Searing Heat legendary node, the Gar rune, and the Killing Wind Witch gem will take you to 100%. Next, we have Stormswell on some gloves. Let me just fix this right quick. Let's put Shredding Blades back on here. Oops, bear with me. Oh, that would have been bad. All right, so we got Shredding Blade gloves. On the planner, I have core, attack speed, crit chance. The important things here are crit chance and core skills. And then your Stormswell here for 35% damage. Next, you can take Snow Veiled or Concussive Strikes on the pants. More damage versus more survivability. Choice is yours. Into max life armor, take another armor roll just to ensure. Because some people don't like to run incenses all the time. And then next we have our boots. Starting off, you'll use Flicker Steps to reset your cooldown. But then once you get some good Meteor boots, the important things on here are int and ranks to Meteor. And then you can either take max life or you can take movement speed because the build can be a little slow. So we used Orange Herald to reset the cooldown of our Inferno to ensure that it's up all the time. And you have 3 utility tempers, and it's a mix of freeze and meteor size. So 2 meteor size, 1 freeze, 2 freeze, 1 meteor size. Doesn't really make too big of a difference. Next is the big hitter of the build, the Shattered Star Staff. The Shattered Stars, basically when you cast Meteor, you spawn a bunch of meteorites around it. It's sort of like Blizzard with Glacial, so that's why it goes on a staff. They do a bunch of damage. We're going to take Yule Ohm on here so that we can get Barb's Warcry, and we're casting a lot of cooldowns, so it's permanently up. The biggest thing on here is the chance for Meteorites to deal double damage. You're going to want to triple. You're going to want to try and at least double crit that. You see I got a perfect roll. I got a double crit. I'm at 87. Third crit would take me to 100, I think. Next, we have our Amulet. This is where our another heavy hitter comes in. It's the aspect of Armageddon. During Inferno, Meteorites will fall. They have a flat damage. Those can scale up too. But while Inferno is active, your Meteorites deal 540% increased damage. And that is why Meteorites are outscaling Meteors, is because of this aspect. Here you're going to want Int, Dev Blaze cooldown reduction, and then the other important one is Inferno cooldown reduction temper. The Evade cooldown is a flex. Next, Talrasha for 75% damage. We got Frost, Shock, and Fire. Important thing here is cooldown reduction. You're going to want GA on that. And last but not least, we have our Shredding Blades ring, int attack speed, crit chance, and then another one, Inferno cooldown reduction, still very important. Let's talk about the offensive tempers. I'm not exactly sure how much attack speed you need, but you have 4 slots for Pyromancy attack speed. I don't know the best combination. So honestly, any mix of Pyromancy critical strike damage and Pyromancy attack speed between these 4 slots is totally fine. And you can, if you want to use amulets across different builds or rings, mainly the gloves, you can just take generic crit strike damage so you're not locked into Meteor. So the enchantments are teleport and ice blade enchantment. The ice blades is mandatory for reducing all your cooldowns, and teleport is also somewhat mandatory, and that is for firstly DR, and secondly stacking up the enlightenment key passive, because you're alternating shock and fire. Stacks up, stacks up. That's how that goes. So and because the build's a little slow, the teleport helps. These nodes are useless, you just have to take them to progress. These nodes are also useless, but you know, we take elemental dominance just to get a little more damage out of Meteor, despite it not really being scaled. There's nothing to take here. We max out teleport. In the normal version, we use shimmering teleport. We want the DR from it, and we use the Icefall legendary node for 50% damage to frozen and bosses. But in the Giga Sweat build, the pit push one, we use mystical teleport to make crackling, so that we can use the ceaseless conduit legendary node, because it's more damage and it's active all the time. Icefall falls off during unstoppables, and that's just, it is what it is. I don't die when I'm running shimmering, and I die when I'm running mystical, and I don't like dying. Glass cannon for damage, and then we have to take mystical ice armor, extra damage to frozen enemies, because we're not casting mana, so we don't take shimmering. Roaring ice blades for the cooldown reduction. Protection. What's cool with Shroud of False Death is our protection is 40%, our ice armor is 56%, so when you use ice armor, that's a 96% max life barrier. I take 3 points in Primordial Binding, despite getting no mana regen or damage out of it. I like the movement speed. You can do whatever you want here. Next, Inner Flames for damage while healthy, and max out Dev Blaze. It's a lot of damage. Then we're going to max out Meteor. We're going to move into Enhanced Meteor for more meteors falling, and because the Armageddon aspect makes our meteors immobilize, I don't really need immobilize, so I just take mages so that my meteors fall faster, because it's more fun. Our 3 frost passives: damage to frozen, damage to vulnerable, and this one is written wrong. It's supposed to say, when you have a frost skill on your action bar, deal 24% more damage. We're going to max out Inferno. We take this node so that we get pulls, and then we take this node so that we deal 50% more damage when our Inferno is active. We're going to path through here. Warmth is always nice, but we're after Soulfire. 8% more damage, and then it's double when we're standing still. And just a note, teleport enchant does not break. It counts as you standing still when you teleport enchant around. Starting off, you're going to take Asus Ferocity and Ancient Flame, because you don't have the best uptime on Enlightenment. And you could really use the attack speed before your gear gets dialed in. But Enlightenment is a lot more damage, and I've tested it with and without, and Enlightenment definitely wins out. So let's get into the Paragon. So the Paragon is Tactician. This is taken in every build now, 15% damage, more damage, and boosts our non-physical for Enlightenment. Next, we take Elementalist. This boosts our non-physical for Enlightenment. It gives us 15% damage by dealing multi-element, bunch of element damage to people. And it also boosts our non-physical by X, which can boost up our Enlightenment damage even higher. Then we take Frigid Fate for 1.6x damage. Next, we're going to move over to Searing Heat. This little node gives us 60% direct damage, and bolsters our Pyromancy crit chance by 12%. Here we take Exploit. I think I normally have these nodes. I digress. We're just after the vulnerable. We don't take a rare node booster here, because fire damage and critical strike damage don't give us as much value as boosting non-physical, because just more Enlightenment. It adds your lightning and fire on top of it. So when you take non-physical, you get the fire damage and you get the lightning and cold stacked on top as well. So it just has more value than raw fire damage. Next, we take Pyromaniac. Again, boosts our non-physical. And then we have Fundamental Release. We don't care about the ultimate skill damage. We're after this 50% damage. It's just always active on every enemy. You apply Vulnerable, you make them burn, or you crit them 5 times. They're taking all the damage. So Meteor burns. This thing's just 50% all the time. Next, we move into Icefall for destruction. And then Icefall is great. So we get 50% damage when the enemy is frozen or a boss. What's really cool, not really cool. So this is like the comfier setup, as I was saying, with the teleport DR and Icefall. It's just good for bossing. But once you start getting into really high pit pushing, enemies start going unstoppable. So you're going to need to take Ceaseless Conduit, which is the lightning board, and it gives you 60% damage when you have crackling energy, and then you're going to make crackling with mystical teleport. But I refuse to run that, so that's the setup. It's pretty solid. Let's make sure I have my elixirs on, and I'm going to get into a T100, see if I can get a nice run. Take 17. No, it's take like 5 because my mic kept popping. So if it does, I'm really sorry. I don't know what to do. But so the damage can be a touch inconsistent, mainly because of when you engage a pack, if you don't have Enlightenment active, you're not really going to nuke them that hard. And then once they go unstoppable, you're going to lose the damage out of Icefall. But that's why I have the pit set up, because that mitigates a lot of those issues. Mainly the unstoppable issue. But for all purpose, like I'm doing 100 right now, and you know this is going to take 5-6 minutes, whatever. So I'm going to be able to level up all my glyphs, and I'm going to be pretty tanky, so it's pretty nice. The second that I put the pit version on, I got killed by like the 3rd pack I ran into. So I was so used to this tankier setup. And the setup isn't even that tanky because I have concussive strikes over Snowveiled. But really, I'm looking for. I want to nuke the pack when I see them. But unfortunately, we have an Aura Champ here. He's going to ruin everything. Unfortunately, I can't ever tell when I have Enlightenment up, because I'm just getting sick of the passive, because I just can't tell what's going on with it. Is it active? There we go. See, now we got a nice nuke there. If you can time everything right, you can get some really good pack nukes. But if Enlightenment isn't active and then they go unstoppable, it's like Enlightenment's not active, then they go unstoppable. I'd hope they buff Asus Ferocity a bit more so that I can stop having to run this passive. We can just make our way. We need to find some elites. So not the fastest run that I've had, but what are you gonna do? I am missing like 22% crit chance, so it definitely, I can definitely feel it. I'd be dealing a lot more damage if I had that 22% crit chance. My gear's great, don't get me wrong, but I haven't crafted all the gems, and I don't want to go craft a Killing Wind, because I have more builds to move on to. I think this is the only one that uses it, so I'm just not crafting it. Sorry. Alright, now we have 10 seconds of Enlightenment, so let's find some elites. And picture perfect right there. So that's, you know what I mean? When you pop into a pack, when you have Enlightenment, they get nuked. But if I could see my buff bar, if I could see when I had Enlightenment, I could stack it up better. Now I can see it, but it's just a tragedy. What's going on with this pit? Yep, see, we're still stacking it up, so we're not getting that good of a nuke on the elites. And then the elite is unstoppable during my Enlightenment. The second he becomes unstoppable, I've lost my Enlightenment. Come on, Blizzard. besides those flaws in the build, always got to be honest with everybody, I really like it. I don't like it for speed farming whatsoever. It's good in the pits because, you know, you have your ice blades and, like, you know, you sit on enemies more, but for speed farming, it's just a little slow. Like, you definitely want flicker steps and try and get some move speed in there. I'd probably give up Ohm for movement speed, so I'll probably adjust the planner for that. This was definitely a lot faster with Ceaseless Conduit. But again, at the cost of survivability. And if you know me, I usually don't like that. Perfect. Let me get out of here. See how long it takes to stack back up. Enlightenment. I don't know. I can't see it on the clock. Looks like it's aligned with the staggers, though. That's for sure. Boss kill's pretty good. And that's why we keep Flame Shield on builds. I tried Familiars. They're so clunky to cast. I just like can't cast them half the time. Alright, not too shabby. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the build. As always, you know, check me out. If you got any questions, feel free to DM me. Feel free to bother me. I'm happy to answer. Alright, I'll catch you guys. Alright, let me fix my chair for the 1000th time. Let's go over the witch powers. So there's really not too much going on with this build. Because of the fact that we need this Killing Wind right here for 15% crit chance, we're unable to run Friend of the Bog because we just can't fit 3 growth powers in there. Friend of the Bog is the one that grants you unhindered and stats and max life, you know, core stats, intelligence. So let's go over these quickly. We have Duststone. We get a little bit extra damage for the aura that we have and a hex that we apply. Killing Wind, again, for the crit chance, move speed, and Moonlight Ward for DR. There's really nothing else we can take on this build. The one where you get 25% mastery damage that doesn't affect Meteorites, and the Witching Hour Purging Touch combination, where you know your Eldritch effects deal 40% more damage, and every second your core skill turns into an Eldritch, gets the Eldritch tag. That doesn't work with Meteorites. GG Blizzard. So we take Doom Orb simply to satisfy an Eldritch power. We have our Aura of Siphoning for our aura around us, for our little green sewage around us. And we have Aura Spec. This should say 35%. It's 35% X damage despite the game saying 35% plus. Shaken Soul is just there to shore up our vulnerable. There's nothing really much else to take. Inferno being your only source of vulnerable isn't the most reliable. Hex of Flames, just for the hex that we need to apply, and for an Eldritch power to satisfy the requirement for Killing Wind. And last but not least, Soul Harvest, the only one that really actually does a ton besides Aura Spec. That is, we're casting cooldowns and we're getting a bunch of intelligence out of it, and it's just more damage. It's a good stuff. It's unfortunate that the setup can't really afford cool witch powers that like do a lot, like some of the, you know, the mastery builds or the conjuration builds or the damage over time builds, but this is what we got, so roll with it. As always, I'm lurking for Mobalytics. This is Meteorite Dino Extinction, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys.